Can we talk about age, guys? I've been wanting to talk about age for the longest because I think in society we have this like assumption or this thing that we all think that like with age comes wisdom, and it really irritates me. It irritates me quite a lot, and I'm going to tell you guys why. I'm going to break all of this down because first of all, let's start here. I don't believe that it's with age we gain wisdom. I think it's with age we gain experiences, which leads to us having the opportunity to gain wisdom. And I think that in reality, what we should actually be doing instead is if you take accountability, responsibility, if you self-reflect, if you seek wisdom, you can actually counteract that whole scientifically accepted thing by just seeking the wisdom for yourself. And I say this as a 25-year-old person who is really not looking forward to being 26, which I'm going to tell you guys about why I'm not looking forward to being 26. I'm going to be 26 in a couple of months. And it's all to do with this age thing that I'm going to talk about, right? Because what I found is with this whole with age comes wisdom, there's a huge flaw in that being even a helpful or logical thing for us to follow, because that means that until time has run its course and I've just gained wisdom by getting older, I can't benefit off of something. So for example, if I now know at 40 years, there's no use me discovering at 45 years old that, oh, it's not good for me to be hoeing about in my 20s. That's not useful to me anymore at 40 years old, right? So that's why I just think the system doesn't work. The system has to work differently. Also, I think it gives a lot of people the idea, like a lot of older people, I will say this, a lot of adults today, I've worked with a lot of children, and I say that because I find it really interesting how much adults are like children. They're just like children with bigger bodies. But you know, I've worked with a lot of children. I've come to realize that a lot of adults are still children. Like they're just bigger children, excuse me, and they get given, we do this thing where we give people credit based on their age. And this is why I don't want to get older. I don't want people to just give me credit for being wise or something or anything because I'm older, because I've gotten older. Because that's an annoying thing in society. It means that a lot of adult people don't get held accountable. And then a lot of us who actually work really hard when we're at younger ages to put ourselves forward just get treated as if we're some weird exhibition, that like some weird rare gem that washed up on the side of the beach. It's like, no, I'll be working, I'll be studying, I'll be listening to people's stories, I'll be doing a lot, I'll be taking accountability for my actions, I'll be receiving critique from people, I have be having to learn hard lessons. Even today I was being humbled by the Lord this today, like, you know, from something, and he was teaching me a lesson about something, and it was kind of wild in the way that he went about doing it, right? And that's why I think this whole thing of like with age comes wisdom is just unhelpful. Another reason, because it takes away the accountability element of like when you want to be a wise person, you need to be. We talked about this in the wisdom series. Those of you guys who have not seen it, you need to check it out. We did 31 days of wisdom. It's got its own playlist every single day of January. 31 videos. Check it out. It's really good. Anyway, and in there I was saying how one way that you can distinctify the difference between, we were noticing these trends of the difference between wisdom and being a fool, right? And with wisdom always came humility, teachability. You know, I don't even know, I still don't know if teachability is a word, but who cares? You guys know what I'm talking about. You know, the ability to understand that you actually need to seek this type of stuff out, whereas with foolishness always comes like stubbornness, right? And what was the other one? Pride, stubbornness and pride, right? Now that's where this is where this really irritates me, this whole age wisdom thing, because a lot of people, from looking at it from my perspective, right, a lot of people are foolish, stubborn, and prideful. Or should I say prideful, stubborn, and foolish, whichever order you want to put it in, right? As they get older, and it just gets worse and it gets worse, and then they get given credit for the sake of that they're supposed to be wise, because that's what we think is supposed to happen, because when people get older you're supposed to gain wisdom, and they're actually not wiser. And it really annoys me, and I feel I don't even like to make this video, guys, because I feel like I don't know, I just know the internet, and it often shocks me how things translate online. Like, even not even just my videos, could be somebody else's video where somebody will say something in the video, and the way that people have translated what they meant in the comments, I'm like, where the hell did you get that from? But this is something that I've been thinking about quite a lot, and it's really like, especially this age, especially me getting older, like I don't want to be a part, like honestly, I don't want to be a part of the old, stubborn, prideful group of people. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be getting older, getting foolish, getting treated, more wisely or with more respect. Because that's the other thing, like people treat you with less respect as you if you're younger, right? Until you like prove yourself, like, and that's what the annoying thing to me, because people will write me off for whatever reason, like, oh bless you, and especially because I've got a baby face, right? So oh, you're so young and you're so this, blah blah blah, and they'll write me off. And I'll tell you what, I've come to enjoy doing, guys, every now and then when I'm feeling a little bit, I'm feeling like making a statement. I will have, when I can see somebody who's like properly patronizing me and talking to me like, yeah, you must not know nothing. I know of the young people of today. You must be so stupid. That's when you'll hear my academic, intelligent voice come on. I don't talk in that way, in that manner most of the time, but I'll start using my academic, and I will school them, and I'll school them right back into silence. And then I always get the like silent look of like, oh, okay, she seems to know. And then it's always a quick flip from patronizing me to, it's so nice to see young people today who are actually, intelligent. And it's like, you didn't even give me a chance. You assumed. The only reason we're even here right now is because I decided that I wanted to school you back and just say, look, just because you're older, just because I'm young, just because I've got a baby face. And this is the thing. I think this is what it is. This is what this is all coming down to, and why I'm feeling so passionately about this. Because I'm officially getting to that point in my life where people are going to just take me more seriously just because of nothing, like essentially, other than, oh, you got older, oh, you look older. Like, and I don't want that, because it's like, and I don't want it because I feel for the younger generation, like, and generations who do just get written off. Because even when it comes to like teaching, right, for example, people will say, one of the things I've noticed in society, there's so much negativity that is said about the younger generations. It was happening to the millennials are kind of getting less of it now it's Gen Z, right, and Gen X, and well, not Gen X, Gen X is before, just Gen X before the millennials, I can't remember, but anyway, Gen Z. And that's what kind of annoys me, because a lot of these younger people they're being written off, they're being patronized. A lot of people aren't actually talking to them, giving them a chance, trying to teach them. Because in my experience, right, with a young person, if I'm talking to a young person, let's say I'm talking to somebody that's like 16, right, now they might have experienced a whole bunch of adults try and talk to them about something, but every single time they're always coming with some type of a patronizing tone, or the classic, oh, you're a kid, you'll understand. Like, I refrain, and I've actually apologized when I've said out loud to children, like, you will understand when you're an adult, because that's just patronizing. It's better to just say something that's to talk to them as though they are a capable human being. You know what I mean? So that's what I do with young people, and it always works. Like, I never ever I will have people will say to me, I'll have to teach like a student or something that other teachers found really difficult, and I'll be like, okay, and they'll be trying to warn me, like, no, but seriously, like, this child is like, whatever, like, he's so badly behaved, it like blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay. First of all, I don't believe in writing off anybody, particularly not children, for starters. So I always just give them a chance, and I talk to them as if like this is a clean slate. They're a capable individual who's capable of understanding things. And I've actually found that the more you talk to young people like they are understanding, capable people, the more they respond as understanding, capable people, and their energy will shift completely, right? And so that's what I do, and it often happens, and I end up coming out with just like these miracles, supposedly, according to other adults, right, in the world. And I'm like, the difference is that I relate to where they're at and what their experience is, because it wasn't that long ago that I was in their position, and I know what it's like to just have, people, teachers, parents, aunties, uncles, family, society, whoever, people in church, whatever community spaces you're involved in, just patronize you, and then assume the worst, assume you're not capable, right? And then all of a sudden, when something else happens, like with somebody else, like, wow, that kid was never like that with me. And it's like, yeah, because you already wrote them off, right? And so we do that with younger people, and then with adults, it's like, oh, adults can't be told anything because, oh, they're older and wiser, and you don't know. And that's what I've noticed is often when there's somebody who really has nothing actually of value to say in response to something I've said, especially when I've made an irrefutable argument about something, It always goes back to the age thing. Oh, you're young, you'll get, like, when they want to be stubborn in their foolishness, when they can't just say, oh, you know what, that you've actually made a good point there, or I never thought about it that way, or I didn't have never actually researched it, or whatever it is, right? It always goes back to the, oh, well, you're young and blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, if this is where we're going, and this is what I mean, it's so immature. Like, it's really actually immature, you know, like how when you, this is why I think there's a lot of children in who are married, and when I say children, I mean grown adults who are married, because when I hear how married people like argue sometimes, and the things they argue about, I'm like, this is so dumb. Like, for example, guys, this is one of the very easiest things. Like, if you're in a relationship, right, this is just something I think, right, if you're in a relationship with somebody and you and that person, you're upset with somebody about something, I always think to myself, if whatever that person has done, or whatever it is that you're upset about, first of all, losing your temper, obviously it's going to happen sometimes, but losing your temper never helps anything, because having a conversation, asking questions, right, like, try to just start asking questions, because I've said this to people before, that a lot of people get really upset like very quickly in modern day society, which I think is also childishness, right? And I think that's because people, again, like I said, they are not actually wiser, they're not actually grown up, they've gotten older, they haven't grown up, if you see what I mean. So people do this even now on online. They get really upset, right? And they will do the thing, and I've said this to you guys before. Before you get upset at anybody, ask questions about what they meant, because maybe they didn't understand exactly what you said. Maybe you're taking what they said the wrong way. Maybe find out what their intention was. Ask them, what did they mean? Because I promise you that 9 times out of 10, if you do that in a situation, let's say in this world we live in, we'll go for 7 times out of 10 to account for the fact that people these days are some people just want to have a problem, right? You will end up not even having an argument, because you realize there was nothing to argue about, because you're just having a miscommunication, or you didn't understand that something was more or less important to somebody else, and that's just their perspective. Also, that's another childish thing I see a lot of other adults do. They can't just accept that somebody else's perspective is just their perspective. Like, they can have it's so many arguments that people get into online these days, to me, are as simple as, like, some people get really upset about, for example, you'll have a lot of black women who get upset about, oh, the way they treat black ladies, and when people are not interested in us. I'm like, look, are there people who are interested in you? Well, then just focus on that. It's like, people have their preferences, and I'll tell you something, the way that we present ourselves as black ladies, a lot of the time we should be focusing more on that, because are we even making ourselves approachable? Are we even making ourselves attractive? Are we behaving in a manner that somebody, and that everybody, more people would want to even pursue us in the first place? Because there's plenty of things we're doing that could help, you know what I'm saying? And so it's these types of arguments that I just see. Or it'll be, or even like I said, in marriage, the classic one I think is, if it's not something that's going to lead to the relationship coming to an end, what is actually the point in most arguments that people are having? And, like, I've never been married. I have been in an adult long-term relationship, you know, and this is what I used to think at the time, because I'd be like, what's the point in arguing about anything, unless, like, is this going to mean that we're going to break up? So why are we having a big kerfuffle about this? Let's just talk about this. Let's just have a discussion. You know what I'm saying? And so many of the things I've just said, right, are things that if a majority of society could do just those, like, 3 examples I gave, things would change for the better. And I don't want to get to, and this is my point, this is why I don't want to get older, because it's annoying to me. It's really annoying. I don't want to be given credibility just because I've gotten older. I don't like that I get credibility just because I'm older. Or like, oh yeah, oh no, yeah, when you're in your 20s, when you're in your, like, all these phrases, like, in your 20s, in the 20s are like this, and 30s are like that. No, darling. It's about you, the type of person you are, and your lack of self-awareness a lot of the time. Realistically, most people just, as they go through life, gain if you're the one who's susceptible or open to gaining true wisdom, you will usually be gaining self-awareness as time goes forward, i.e. certain situations are not the best for me to put myself into for certain reasons, right? It's even like with people and sleeping around. Most people, they don't, like, grow up out of sleeping around. They just sleep around so long that they realize that it actually is so meaningless, right? That they just don't want to do it anymore. Like, it's not, they've not gained the wisdom they've gained is purely based on experience. Not that they've grown up. They've just done that thing for long enough to realize, not worth it. Do you guys see what I mean? And this is why these things with age and society irritate me. Another one that irritates me, right? I was thinking about this. I was going to do another whole video about this. how kids today, right, which I won't even go down this road, but for this one I'm going to go down a different road, but this is going to introduce the road we're going down, right? Kids today, right, will be told, we've all in agreement that 18, like that 18 is the age of consent, right, in the modern society, which I think is a good thing. However, children as young as like 10 can choose to change their whole gender. How does that make a sense? Like, this is what I'm saying about us and this age thing, and how age is just something that is just almost not irrelevant because it matters, but it's just, we just pick and choose how we utilize it, and usually we utilize it for whatever favors us, i.e. older people want to feel like they have more entitlement to be feeling and seen as wiser just because they're older. But are you actually wiser? You know what I'm saying? Or another thing that's silly about age, right, is this whole turning 18 concept, because I'll hear people say, oh, such and such turned 18, and when you turn 18 you should move out. I don't believe in moving out at 18 at all, actually. I think that the fact that so many people are leaving home as a teenager that young, going to live by themselves in this big crazy world, is why we're in such a, so many people are in therapy by 35, because they crashed into adulthood and they didn't have guidance or wisdom. Because overnight, on when you go, when is your birthday, and the night before your birthday and you're 17 years old, right, that night your parents are responsible for you. You have somewhere that you have a right to live in, as far as what everybody would agree with, right? You don't even get to make all the decisions in your own life. Overnight, just overnight, literally in a minute, in the space of a minute, you go from that to now you're responsible for yourself. Now you're the only person who's accountable for you and responsible for you. Now you need to know how to do everything. You need to know how to do your taxes. You need to know how to live on your own. You need to move out if you're not, if you are trying to speak with your parent or carer about something because you disagree with something. You have to follow whatever they say blindly. Otherwise you need to move out and go and live your life and do what you want to do. It doesn't make any sense, guys. It really doesn't make any sense at all. And like, this is one of those things that's bothering me, because I think so much of people today is like, a lot of, especially a lot of parents are just, and adults in general, are just like, oh well, we're gonna just try and do the minimum. I feel like a lot of people are trying to do the minimum with young people, with children, until they're 18, so that at 18 they get to say, ah, well, you're an adult now. No one's responsible for you. No one's responsible for anything. You better work this out. You better, no one cares. Like, overnight, within the space of a minute, literally 11:59 the day before your, the 11:59 on the day before your birthday, all these people are responsible for you. You're considered a child, this, that, and the other. Midnight goes, right? Okay, now you're an adult. Now go and run off into this world, which is such a safe place to go into with lacking good, strong wisdom. And then we wonder why people grow up, because this is what I think, this is what I believe leads to why so many adults today are like children, because they, at the point of 18, the point where I think actually probably parenting and wisdom of others is probably the most important, right, is when when us as society has decided that this is the point where we as adults are the least responsible for you. And this is why I started my channel. This is why I do so much, even though I'm still young, because I realize that these young people, they need guidance, they need mentorship from wise people, right? And unfortunately, we have this weird society where 1 second this thing is considered a child, and the next thing this thing isn't, and then the next thing this, you can't even drink alcohol in the United States of America until you're age 21, but you can consent. And also 10 years before that, even, you can actually change your whole gender. Like, it doesn't make sense, guys. It doesn't make sense. And that's my thing. Like, and then you have, like I said, the older people who just say, it's like the other day, do you know what also irritated me so much, right? I was thinking about like this leadership in the world in general, right? I've been thinking about this age thing a lot recently, a lot. I was thinking about this age thing because obviously I was looking at like what the requirements are to be president of the United States, whatnot, what have you. Obviously you have to be at least 35 years old, which again is one of these probably very stupid things of like assuming that you're probably going to be a certain level of wise at that age. Okay, so there we go again with this. I don't get me wrong, guys. I do think this, and I'm not saying that we should remove age things altogether. I'm just saying that the way that we're doing it right now is problematic. So I was looking at that and I was just thinking, you know what, as well, especially when it comes to politics and stuff. Oh, why does my face look so oily? Like, what the heck, y'all? Anyway, especially when it comes to politics and stuff like that, right? A lot of politicians, a lot of politics, it's a place where people expect you to have a long Like, there's a lot of places in life where you're expected to have like a long length of experience doing something before you can do something else more um influential, which I get as far as like you want to be knowledgeable properly about a subject area. But I actually think that across the board in politics, we could do with an injection of just some fresh people, fresh, capable people who are kind of thrown in a little bit more at the deep end, to be honest with you, because I think there's so many systems, like for example with the education system, right? There's a whole new thing happening now with education tech, and the reason is for that is because a lot of teachers are leaving teaching for reasons that I've spoken about in previous videos. Highly overworked, highly underpaid, governments are changing curriculums and everything all the time, parents are taking less and less responsibility for their children and expecting teachers who already have sometimes 100 children who they are teaching in a year period to look after, and the parents just want the teachers to do more and more and for them to do less and less. I say this because I'm doing teaching and I know exactly what this is like. So a lot of teachers are walking away from teaching and going into education tech, and I'm just thinking, how is like the government's not realized that this is something they should do, because you should be able to engage with the children. Like, why do we demonize the children for being interested in like technology? This is where everything's going, the metaverse, all of this crypto and everything. The literal world they're in is moving towards technology, but we villainize children because they're interested in being online. Why are we not utilizing that more for children? Like, why are we not putting more things into that, right? Children should have been able to be doing way more than just a Zoom class with their teacher. Do you know what I'm saying? And so this is where education tech is going, and there's actually a really great app that I use. It's actually for children, but it's fun to keep up my maths, to keep my math skills strong. And basically you can set the age group for your child on there, and then they get to play. It's basically like it's kind of like Fortnite, right? Type of, well, it's not like Fortnite, it's hard to explain what it's like, but basically it's a game, but it's all to do with maths, and you have to do the maths questions, and when you do the maths questions you earn money and stuff, and then you can buy stuff, you can have pets, you can battle your pets with the other people's pets, you can buy clothing, you have a house that you can decorate. It's really cool game, and there's lots of different types of things, lots of different types of subjects. You can also just practice, and I'm thinking this is the type of stuff that your child could actually get involved in. And then there's that as well, where it's like, I look at stuff like this and I would love to, help instill this more into schools and into these institutions, right? But a lot of these changes obviously happen at the higher level. The people at the higher level had to be a certain whatever to get there, and they're very much old thinking in the old times. I'll give you guys a perfect example of this, actually, to do with age again, right? So I'm teaching at the moment, as I said, and school has actually gotten significantly harder. Okay, guys, I officially left secondary school, or what some would call high school, but secondary school, 10 years ago this year, right? And I remember what it was like. I remember what types of questions and stuff I had to do. Who I'm teaching now at a younger age is doing significantly more difficult work. In fact, it's shocking how difficult it is, actually, the work that these young people have to do. So once again, it's no surprise that the young people are struggling in schools to do well. Not to mention we just had a whole 3-year pandemic, right? So there's that too. And so I'm just thinking, so when a lot of people are looking again down at the younger generation saying this, that, and the other, I'm like, I guarantee most adults today cannot do, the most adults today who managed to get, say, A in maths in high school, I doubt would get an A in maths of today. I doubt it, because it is difficult, okay, for them. And you know what I'm saying? And so it's all these little things, guys, about society, and all these little things that have just been swimming around my brain recently, and I just feel so frustrated at the idea of being 26. I feel frustrated about becoming more of an adult. I feel frustrated about that. I feel frustrated about the pressures of getting older, and then just all that comes with it. I don't want to be seen as more intelligent or more mature or more wise because I've gotten older. I don't want that. And I actually like being part of the young people. I like being part of the young people. I like fighting on behalf of the young people. I don't like to associate too much with people. I don't like to associate too much with adults. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'm not really a big fan of adults in general. Just because of what I said. Like, there's a lot of pride there, a lot of stubbornness, a lot of lack of accountability, because ultimately all the decisions we make, guys, and this is one of the reasons why I have this channel and I talk about a lot of stuff that nobody speaks about, because I will be damned if it's 20 years from now the kids coming along are like asking me what did I do about the state of the world that they're living in, when I had the chance, when I was old enough to vote, when I was old enough to have a voice, when I was old enough to stand up for them. What was I doing? You know what I mean? Right now, when some of these kids are just being born, are toddlers, are young, you know what I mean, 15 right now, in this crazy word, I'll be damned if I'm going to sit there and just be like, and just be talking down on them. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here silently, just living my own comfortable life, not doing anything, pridefully looking down upon them in the future, like I didn't have opportunities to do things now. That's why I don't care how young I am. I'm going to go for it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, this has just been irritating me a lot, guys. It's really, really, I can't express it. It's like I just can't get it out of my head, and I feel like I need to do something about it. I don't know what I can possibly do right now other than talk about it. Obviously, I can't help that I'm going to get older, and also I don't mind, and I'm not, and let me just say this as well, like, I don't hate adults, guys. I don't hate adults. I love us all. I just think we all need to do better, and I just do think that it's interesting to me how we have all the sympathy in the world for like every category of person except the children right now in society. We have categories. We have sympathy for teachers, we have sympathy for parents, we have sympathy for the black people, sympathy for LGBTQ plus, sympathy for the planet, for the animals and everything. And one category we don't seem to have any sympathy for is children, and it's just, oh, these young people today, look at them, look at these demons that just washed up on the ocean, from God knows where, straight from the pits of Hades, straight from the underworld. Like, I don't like that about society, and I think that's where this is all just coming together for me now, because I'm crossing over from the point where it was like, oh, I was in my early 20s and and you know, still not being taken seriously, which I kind of laugh at it, to be honest, a lot of the time, because I'm just like it's just really funny to me, I'm not gonna lie. Especially because the reasons why I am I am the way that I am is clearly is not to do with my age. Clearly there's something else, you know what I'm saying? And maybe whatever that something else is, rather than looking at somebody like myself as like some kind of a rare gem, maybe we should be rethinking rethinking society and how we go about society, and the decisions we make, and the patronizing that goes on, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I don't want. Like, I don't like getting older. I don't like how people are just getting more unnecessarily serious. And when I say unnecessarily serious, like, somebody will say to me, like, I remember this. I was playing Pokemon Go. I don't play Pokemon Go anymore, but I was playing Pokemon Go, and I used to play it quite a lot when I was living in London, because it would always be something I could do while traveling, just for the fun of it, right? Because whatever. I remember I went to this place where I was hired as an event planner. So I was showing up at this place, and one of the CEOs of the company says to me, he's like, how can you play, like, he's like, how can you be playing Pokemon Go, you're an adult? I'm like, I find it so funny how adult people talk about being serious, but most of them aren't prepared to talk about the real serious stuff. Like, oh, you want to talk about serious? You want to talk about, let's talk about the state of the world. Let's talk about the lying media. Let's talk about the Hollywood and the entertainment industry, and how you and this Disney Channel that you're letting your child watch, how the CEO of Disney Channel, of Disney in general, his parents were Freemasons, and not only were they Freemasons, he was a Freemason as well, and they've purposely been putting all this stuff into programming the children since before, programming and preparing the children of today for them to go into the occult and all this type of stuff. Let's talk about what your children are being taught of in schools. Let's talk about the fact that you don't even know, like, so, you know, and that's what I find funny. Like, people will say, like, to me, to somebody like me, like, oh, you know, if I'm doing something that's just whatever, like playing games, because I play games, guys. I play games and I do lots of fun things because I enjoy it, right? And that's because when I get serious, I get serious, and I ain't afraid to talk about the things that need to be spoken about. I'm not afraid to talk about what's really actually affecting us. You know what I mean? So, but I'll be called not serious because I don't want to like sit there like taking myself too seriously all the time. But to what end? If you're just going to sit there and let the world batter you, be a slave and a puppet to all of these various systems, the what's that place called? The pharmaceutical industry, the government. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about all these things. Let's talk about the fact that in the last presidential election, in some states, there were 3 times the number of people even living in that state that supposedly voted. Interesting. But these are the things we don't want to talk about. We don't want to talk about the things that really matter, the things that are affecting us on a day-to-day basis. The World Health Organization making all these decisions where one person is going to be able to sit on top of everything in the whole world and decide that whatever they want to do is considered a pandemic. They get to make the choice on their own. They're being given more power even than our leaders. Our leaders we're voting for. We're going and voting for our leaders, our presidents, our prime ministers. This person is being elected, somebody who's actually not even technically qualified, by the way. Did a video about this person. I can't remember this guy's name, but this is true. And they're trying to get it so that these people get to just choose and make a decision. This is what's going on behind the scenes, right? Well, whatever else is happening, right? They're being given the power to decide that when they decide the whole world needs to now go into lockdown and this, that, and the other. This is what they're preparing behind the scenes. So you want to talk about serious? You ain't even talking about what's really serious. And that's another thing that annoys me about this whole age thing and just people getting older. And that's why, you know, I think a lot of, I don't know. I've worked so hard to cling onto my youth and to remain teachable always, to remain try and be as humble as possible, to try and be open-minded, to try and be mature, self-aware, accountable, you know, and all of that type of stuff. And I just don't enjoy being a member of the adult community. I think that's what it comes down to. I don't enjoy it a lot of the time. The only adults that I really enjoy being part of the adult community with are you guys on this channel, because otherwise I just think a lot of adults are there pridefully walking around with their heads held high, like you're not like one of these idiots right now who's a complete, total and utter ignorant puppet of everything that's happening in the world, walking around talking down on the younger generation instead of you being aware of what's happening, creating a better tomorrow, and mentoring the younger generation, meeting them at their level. You know what I'm saying? And I find it especially interesting that, you know, what the Bible has to say so much about children, because the Bible talks about the children as like a heritage, a gift from the Lord. You know, he says that we should have childlike faith. He speaks so well, so highly of childlike nature. And I really believe a lot of that's just to do with like getting older and stuff. It just, like the other day I was reading, last year I was literally brought to tears. I was reading something I wrote this song when I was 15, and I was reading the lyrics that I wrote, and the thing that stuck out to me about it, right, was that that was a time when I was so young and I was so not carefree, but open-minded, that I just didn't care to say what I really wanted to say, and I wasn't overthinking it. And that's another thing I think sucks about getting older, is we all just care a lot about what other people think. We're all putting out the best version of ourselves. I feel like we're all just gaining skeletons in the closet whilst like presenting ourselves to the world as like these put together individuals, and in reality most people are a mess. This is why everybody's going to therapy, the one safe place where they get to tell the therapist the real stuff that's going on, while we all pretend that we know what we're doing. The rest of the time, I don't know. Obviously, guys, I'm not talking about everybody in this video. This is more just me just kind of saying what was on my mind, has been on my mind. I'm not trying to upset anybody. I'm not firing shots at anybody in particular. I'm literally just talking about what I've been thinking about, because I've been thinking about this quite a lot. And I feel very passionately about the children. I feel very passionately that, you know, I'm often times wondering, like, where is the accountability for the children? Like, not just the judging, the patronizingness and all of that. You know, and I think the older you get, I think the distance starts to have an effect. That's why I mentioned about how difficult the exams were, because I remember what my exams actually were. I remember what was actually on my exams and everything, and I remember how hard it was at the time for me to now be teaching people who were younger than I even was when I sat those exams. And this is what they're being expected to do. And if they can't do well in those exams, then they're going to just be looked at like they're not smart, and then they're going to write themselves off, or they're going to be looked at like they're lazy, or, you know, the classic, oh, he doesn't focus because he's playing games on his phone. And I'm like, you don't realize what these people are going through. And I get it, a lot of you are, even a lot of teachers today, I hate to say it, but a lot of them, it's been a while since they qualified. Like, I don't know if they realize how detached they actually are from the experience. And that's why I think, and probably the real reason I'm sad to get older, is I've just seen there's a lot of benefits to me, my youth, for both as far as children are concerned and as adults. Because as far as children are concerned, it wasn't so long ago that I don't remember that experience. Or I act like a lot of adults these days who basically seem to act like they don't remember at all what it was like to be a child, and they just like they must have never been a child, you know, on the way they behave. But then also on the adult side of things, I am actually an adult, so, you know, and because I'm on an earlier stage of my journey as an adult, there's a lot for me to learn, a lot of people for me to learn from, to observe. And so I'm kind of at the sweet spot right now. And I think that's what really just is what's sad to me about getting older, is like, oh, I feel like as soon as I go over to 26, it's just gonna be like, oh, 26, 27. Like now I'm late. Now I'm going to be late 20s. Like what the hell is that? You know what I'm saying? And then late 20s and then blah, blah, blah. And like I said, guys, I'm not mad about getting older. Okay. I don't mind. Time will run its course. You know what I'm saying? However long the Lord wants me to be here, it's fine. I don't feel old. I'm just sad to lose this period that I've been in the last couple of years of, you know, being in adulthood enough to be in it, but early enough in it to be looking at it with fresh eyes, and still attached and connected enough to like being a child, and just especially living in this day and age where we are, bearing in mind as well that I happen to be in the generation that I sit on the cusp of two generations. So I'm either a super old, super young millennial, or like the oldest of Gen Z. So that's interesting as well, isn't it? That in and of itself is just different, because then again, I also relate to both sides of that, because I'm like, I do actually relate to the millennials a lot, but then in certain ways it's like, nah. And then also with Gen Z, it's kind of the same thing. I do relate in a lot of ways, but then other things it's like, nah. Both generations I feel like go a bit too far in different ways, where I'm like, I don't think I vibe necessarily completely with either in particular. And so that's just another whole thing, and that's another thing that doesn't happen all the time, being in the middle of two generations essentially. So anyway, guys, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm fine. Like I feel like whenever I talk about things that I'm thinking about and feeling, people just take it so far with the like, oh no, it's gonna be tomorrow is gonna be a better day. I'm not depressed or anything, guys. I'm just literally thinking and sharing my thoughts, because I've been thinking about it a lot and I wanted to say something. So I'm gonna wrap it up now, because I've been talking for ages. I'm literally just dilly-dallying, because I know when you start talking about things like age and adults, people get way more sensitive for whatever reason I don't really understand. So I'm thinking, what disclaimers do I need to add to make sure that like people get the right idea, that I'm not trying to fight. I'm not trying to fight with nobody, okay? I'm just trying to share my own experience. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video and comment. If life's a game, let's play to win. God bless you all, and I'll see you in my next one.